Dyskyon Mall would like to welcome all new customers to our premier establishment.
You move, I shoot. You run, I shoot. You look at me funny, I shoot.
Our selection is undeniable.
You all sound insane. Grand Point got wiped off the map when I was 10.
Our prices competitive.
7 little sheepies.
Please observe all safety protocol whilst you are about your shopping experience.
I'm telling you, this thing is set up to enforce rules.
Don't let the panoply of choice carry you away too far.
0 daily items remaining. Thank you for choosing Dyskyon Mall.
This place will eat you if you don't eat each other first.
Not exactly common.
Mariana inched forward through the aisles with Beth's arms slumped heavy over her neck, Diego supporting Beth's other side. Every few seconds, Mariana glanced back toward where the robot had disappeared. Beth's words bled together, sometimes more sob than syllable. They paused at an end-cap display of AllSports emergency go bags. Mariana's hand hovered, trembling slightly.
Should we...
We gotta risk it at some point. You still have 3 items left. I could use my last one if you don't want.
She snagged one, eyes darting upward to scan for cameras before tearing it open. Inside, Mylar blanket, hand crank radio, foil-wrapped protein bars, and a vacuum-sealed first aid kit with Premium Plus stenciled on the side.
2 daily items remaining.
Let me. I've done this before.
He knelt beside Beth, hands hovering over her twisted ankle. Positioning his palms, one cupping her heel, the other gripping just above the brake. Beth nodded, face gone slack with fear. Mariana took Beth's hand, squeezed.
1, 2...
He wrenched the joint with surgical precision before 3 could leave his lips.
Ah!
Jeremy hustled Beth's way. His arms were streaked with ash and old blood, sleeves rolled back, exposing forearms built for breaking things. The cut across his forehead had already started to clot, black and sticky. He scanned for threats as his eyes swept the aisle, then hunched down next to Egon's stretcher. For a moment, he just watched the rise and fall of Egon's breath, shallow but there, little rattles at the start of every exhale.
Still with us, boss?
Jeremy nudged Egon's shoulder, as gentle as he could be. Egon's eyelids fluttered. His mouth moved around words that refused to show themselves. Jeremy felt his own teeth grinding. It was the only thing he could do, not to shake the man back to consciousness. Diego hovered over the burns, hands tight on the kit like it might vanish if he let up. The sight of Egon's back turned Diego's stomach. Blisters already the size of quarters. He'd seen burns before, but this, he swallowed hard. It was bad.
We'll cut the shirt. Faster that ways.
His hands felt too big for the slick safety scissors, but he started at the collar, working it upward through the charred fabric. Egan jerked when the blade touched fresh skin. His arms twitched, but he didn't wake.
Fred, hold him still.
Fred nodded, expression flat and gray. He braced Egan's shoulder with both hands, knuckles whitening with the pressure.
You got any of those painkillers left?
Helen blinked, then dug for it. One horse pill, blue and white. Maybe hydrocodone, maybe ibuprofen with attitude. He didn't care. He pressed the pill up against Egon's teeth, thumb forcing the jaw open just enough for a dry swallow. Egon didn't flinch.
It ain't gonna hold long. We need to get him to a hospital.
Mariana watched from behind Beth's shoulder, chewing at a hangnail. She blinked once, short and hard.
What do we do with him now? Can he move?
Those doors got us locked in. We don't know what's in here, and I don't want to be waiting by the front for whatever comes next.
Place this big? Has to have emergency call boxes, maybe in the staff areas.
You all sound insane. Grand Point got wiped off the map when I was 10. We're not in Michigan anymore. We can't be.
Mariana's lips twitched into something almost like a smile.
There are corners of this state neither of us has seen, Beth.
Beth rolled her eyes. She angled her gaze over Mariana's shoulder then, and tensed. Mariana followed her gaze across the aisle, expecting another shelf collapse or maybe another lost soul crawling through the store's dead echo. Instead, there was nothing. Nothing except the slow, measurable swing of security cams overhead and the silent, infinite rows of gear. But Beth's hand clamped hard on Mariana's wrist.
You saw that, right? Tell me you saw that.
Mariana didn't answer, just stared down the corridor between aisles until her own focus went grainy. There was a faint zigzag of rubber across the polished floor, a clean, stuttering streak left by a single bike tire. A wheel, maybe a thin, bright pedal flash. Gone almost before she'd registered it. But she couldn't make out the rider. Nothing but soundless drift and the memory of movement.
Yeah, maybe.
Cool. Definitely not losing it then.
Bike?
Either that or Helen's meds are the really good stuff.
Well, at least there's more than us in here.
Us and a giant robot?
Jeremy stopped pacing, hands gripping the cool edge of a steel rack.
Wait. Did you see the display when you grabbed the med kit? The little digital sign up top?
Yeah, it counts down every time you take something.
I was thinking about that robot. The one that fixed the doors. Did you notice when it finished, when it put the glass back together? The stuff in its arms, tools, all that, folded inside its chest. But there was this. Jesus, maybe I'm nuts, but I swear one of the slots in its torso, it looked like a minigun.
Diego's eyes widened as the realization hit him.
Those two bodies we found after the crash.
Yeah, one of them had 5 items. Looked like they had just pulled them off the shelves, and they got cut in half for it. I'm telling you, this thing is set up to enforce rules. And that digital sign, 3 items per day, not a suggestion, it's policy, enforced.
Nothing about this place is right.
Fred looked up from where he'd been staring at his boots, cigarette ash scattered across the toe caps. His face had gone slack.
The young lady was on to something. Grand Point was the only place in Michigan even close to this size. Was. When I went outside to make a call, some freak in a white suit tried to... His face wasn't... It wasn't... Now a giant robot with military weapons and a repair beam? Forget finding an exit. Maybe we need to start looking for red slippers. This has all been like one long, bad prank.
People are dead. Really shitty prank.
Jeremy fiddled with the old radio he'd grabbed from the rig, turning the dial with deliberate precision. A tiny green LED pulsed in steady time.
Diego, you still got yours?
Diego patted his jacket pocket, pulled out his work radio.
Channel 12?
12. Keep it low. Keep it on, in case we get split up.
Can we just get the fuck out of here now?
Beth is right. I've seen enough of this place. Seen enough in this place.
The doors are still locked. How many more times you want to try them?
Maybe the answer's just to smash our way out. If those doors are locked, okay, but it's just glass, right? Windows and doors.
Yeah, that ain't normal glass. That's ballistic storm glass. You could maybe break that if you had a pickaxe and a crew.
Diego patted the titanium climber's axe clipped to his belt.
Which we have. Any volunteers?
You all can go out the front by yourselves.
Fred wrapped an arm around Helen protectively.
I don't like it either. Not with that drone pounding around with a Vulcan tucked away. It was the damage that brought it out the first time. Figure, if we do more, the drone comes back. With upgrades. Not a hypothesis I want to test if we have other options.
Jeremy stood up first. He looked at the sporting goods aisle ahead, rows of ATVs, trailers, camo gear. He didn't say anything, he just started walking. Diego followed, lifting one end of Egon's stretcher. Mariana helped Beth stand. Fred fell in behind them. His hand dropped to his jacket pocket out of habit. Fingers brushed fabric. Nothing. He froze mid-step. Helen walked beside him, purse clutched tight. She glanced over. Her eyes caught something on his neck. A perfect handprint. 5 long fingers, palm outline, deep purple, edges slightly raised like frostbite. She reached out, hesitated.
Did you lose something, hon?
My phone. I left it. Doesn't matter.
Helen's fingers lingered near the bruise a moment longer.
Fred, what happened to your neck?
We have got to get these people out of here.
We're going to need wheels. Can't just leave the ladies behind, and we can't keep carrying Egon.
That earned a sour look from Jeremy, but he was right. Fred stormed down the white path, eyes scanning the aisle markers above. Most were numbered, beige signs with no other context, but one caught his eye, an orange decal of a dirt bike mid-jump.
Motorsports, over this a ways, fellas.
Fred veered left. The aisle opened into a sprawling section that looked like it had been lifted wholesale from a dealership showroom. ATVs sat in neat rows, chrome gleaming under fluorescent light. Dirt bikes hung suspended from ceiling mounts. Display racks held helmets, riding gloves, protective gear, all pristine, all untouched. Fred made straight for the nearest quad, a bulky Polaris with knobbed tires and a cargo rack. He swung a leg over the seat, gripped the handlebars.
Keys?
Fred grunted, fingers probing under the ignition cowl.
Push start. No key needed.
He thumbed the starter. Nothing. He tried again. Still nothing. Not even a click.
Dead. Battery's bone dry.
Diego moved to the next one, a smaller Honda model. He checked the display panel. Dark. He pressed the starter anyway.
This one too.
Jeremy walked the row, checking each ATV in turn. Every single one. Dead. Jeremy scanned the showroom floor, jaw working. Nothing here was going to roll, not without juice. Diego crouched beside one of the quads, fingers tracing the underside of the frame.
Doesn't matter. These electric models are a waste. Even if we could charge one, it'd take hours. Plus, we'd need a ramp to get it down off the platform. And I'm not dragging a 300-pound machine across marble.
Fred kicked the tire of the nearest ATV, muttering something obscene under his breath. Then Diego straightened, gaze shifting past the dirt bikes toward the far wall. A cargo trailer sat tucked against the back corner, small, aluminum-sided, hitched to nothing. It looked like something you'd tow behind a riding mower. Compact, light, 4 wheels.
We're in the right area. We could pull that.
Hold up.
He pointed past the ATVs toward a service alcove they'd missed. A Kubota RTV X1140 sat half-hidden in shadow, its orange chassis dulled under fluorescent light.
Good old-fashioned gas-powered.
The utility cart had 4 seats, roll bars, and a small trailer hitched to its back. Jeremy circled it, fingers tracing the dashboard. He twisted the key still hanging in the ignition.
Son of a bitch. It works.
Jeremy checked the fuel gauge, tapping it twice with his knuckle. The needle hovered just above empty.
Not for long. Tank's almost dry.
How far you think we'll get?
Jeremy killed the engine and climbed down from the RTV.
We need fuel. This car won't get us a quarter mile on fumes.
Fred was gone before anyone could stop him, prowling the showroom with the eyes of a frantic junkyard scavenger. He hustled back toward the automotive tools section.
0 daily items remaining. Thank you for choosing Dyskyon Mall.
When he reappeared, he clutched a chrome multi-tool in one hand and a small, hand-pumped extraction tank in the other, siphon tube whipping around as he held it up.
Display vehicles. They always leave a little in the tank from when they roll them off the lot. Keeps the seals from drying out.
Fred worked his way down the line of ATVs, jamming the siphon into each fuel tank and coming up empty. The hose dangled uselessly in his hands, not a drop to show for his efforts. When he reached the blue Polaris Ranger, the 3rd machine in the row, the siphon finally caught something. He could feel the weight of liquid moving through it.
Liquid gold. About half a gallon if we're lucky.
Fred eyed a red plastic fuel can on a nearby shelf.
We should grab that, save us making multiple trips.
Non-compliance detected.
Something silver flashed from above, a security drone dropping like a falcon. Fred's hand jerked back with a sickening crack as the drone intercepted, its pincers clamping around the can. He howled, clutching his bent finger as the drone zipped away with its prize. Diego's head snapped toward the ceiling, tracking the drone's silver blur as it disappeared into the darkness above.
That counts against your limit. Did you forget about the machine guns?
Fred cradled his hand against his chest, face contorted.
Shit, I know. 3 items. Won't happen again.
Jeremy stepped between them.
I'll find another can. Fred, keep your hands in your fucking pockets before you get them shot off.
When they rounded the corner back toward the restrooms, Beth sat up from her perch on the aisle benches, eyes wide.
Valet service. I could get used to this.
Don't get too comfortable. Tank's almost empty, but it'll get us farther than our feet.
Comfortable? Perish the thought.
Jeremy knelt beside Egon, checking his pulse again. Still there. Still faint.
We need to get him in the trailer. He can't sit upright with those burns.
Diego took position at Egon's shoulders, Jeremy at his legs. They lifted in unison, careful not to jostle him as they carried him to the small trailer hitched behind the Kubota. Egon's face contorted in unconscious pain as they eased him onto his stomach. Beth climbed into the trailer, face pale.
Where are we even going?
Looking for exits. Fire doors, service corridors, anything. We can't stay here.
And if we run out of gas before we find anything?
Fred glanced back toward the revolving glass doors, past the darkened aisles, trepidation edging in on his weathered face.
It's just a door, Fred. Don't worry. We'll find one that opens.
Where's your friend Mariana? We should get everyone together now. About to roll out in a minute, I think.
Looking for a proper leg brace. I'm just half a woman here. Okay, maybe 3/4.
Beth rubbed her leg tenderly above the break, wincing.
Burn gel for Egon, too. We already went through all the stuff in those 2 med kits we grabbed, and Mari has 2 items left on her punch card.
You ain't grabbed anything yet, have you?
Nope, I'm saving up till we hit Gucci land. Mama needs a new bag. Kidding! Me and your ball and chain already worked out a thing. We're going to grab food and water, in case we're stuck here.
Fred stroked his beard stubble, nervously trying to peer over the aisles.
That's, probably a good plan.
Mariana scanned the shelves of the medical supply aisle, frustration tightening her shoulders. She'd found the leg brace, but nothing for burn treatment had surfaced yet. She moved deeper into the store, arms wrapped around herself against the artificial chill. Something caught her eye near the base of a generator display, a splash of color against pristine white tile. An empty chip bag, crumpled. The foil interior showed through a tear in the plastic. Doritos, maybe. The logo was too faded to tell. The first piece of actual garbage she'd seen since waking up here.
You guys littering already?
Mary, over here. We got an Uber.
Helen was waving frantically from beside the utility cart.
Hurry up, Slowpoke. We're leaving. Now.
Her gaze dropped to Fred's injured hand, her expression shifting from urgency to concern.
God, what did you do to yourself?
Mariana's stomach twisted. She turned her head slowly. Between 2 towering shelving units, something shifted in the shadows. Not the mechanical precision of the security robot. Something smaller, human-sized. Jeremy's hand dropped to his belt, fingers finding the worn leather sheath he'd carried since Helmand. The siphon tube clattered to the floor as his thumb flicked the release catch, the 4-inch blade sliding into his palm with barely a whisper of steel against leather. Mariana stood frozen between the shelving units, her gaze locked on something behind Diego's line of sight. Her mouth was open, but no sound came out. Just a small, breathless gasp that made the hair on Diego's neck stand up. The woman emerged from the shadow like she'd been waiting there all along, shotgun leveled with the casual confidence of someone who'd held a gun longer than she'd held anything else. Her clothes hung on her frame in tatters, a flannel shirt with the sleeves ripped off, jeans crusted with something that might have been dirt or might have been worse. Her hair was a tangled nest, matted against her skull, and her eyes had that particular brightness that came from too much adrenaline and not enough sleep. The shotgun's barrel swung, tracking Mariana's movement.
You move, I shoot. You run, I shoot. You look at me funny, I shoot.
Pointing at Jeremy.
You drop the pig sticker, now.
His hands came up slowly, palms forward.
Easy. We don't want trouble.
Bunch of tourist newbies, fresh off the boat. Precious little sheep. You don't need that cart. None of you will live long enough to use it right anyways. This place will eat you, if you don't eat each other first.
Her mouth twisted into something that might have been a smile on a different face. Her finger rested alongside the trigger guard, not on it yet, but close enough that Diego's mouth went dry. Her eyes darted from face to face.
How many are you?
7. We just crashed here. Same as you, probably.
7 little sheepies. That's a lot of mouths. A lot of hands reaching for things that ain't theirs.
Fred shifted his weight, and the woman's barrel pivoted toward him instantly.
Try it, Grandpa.
Helen, standing half-hidden behind Fred's shoulder, had frozen mid-motion. Her purse hung open at her hip, one hand buried inside it. Her fingers were wrapped around something small and cylindrical, probably the lip gloss she'd been reaching for, Diego realized. The absurdity of it almost made him laugh. They were about to die, and Helen Bixby was worried about her makeup.
Listen, we're not looking for trouble. We just need...
We? There ain't no we. There's me keeping my cart, and you getting the fuck away from it.
A patch on her tattered flannel caught Diego's attention, faded fabric showing a wheel and skull design with Raiders embroidered beneath.
Raiders. Some kind of motorcycle club?
Want a history lesson before you die? Bunch of psychos who thought they could game the system. But the system just kept changing the rules on them. Now they're worm food. Every single one.
Mariana doubled over suddenly, one hand pressed to her abdomen. The cramp felt like someone twisting a knife inside her.
Mari, you okay?
Mariana straightened with effort.
Fine, just bad timing.
The woman swung her shotgun toward Mariana, eyes narrowing to bloodshot slits.
Everybody shut their mouths, now.
Don't you point that at her.
Helen's hand plunged into her purse. When it emerged, she was holding a small revolver, her knuckles white around the grip. Her jaw clenched tight enough that a muscle twitched along her cheekbone as she leveled the barrel at the woman threatening Mariana.
Everyone just calm down.
The gun was tiny in her grip, a snub-nosed .38 that looked like a toy in her brittle hands.
Nobody needs to get hurt here.
The woman with the shotgun's entire body went rigid.
Were you the morons that brought that damn Walker drone out?
Her shotgun barrel darted away from Jeremy and Fred, zeroing in on Helen. Helen's breath came in short, sharp gasps, her thumb searching frantically for the hammer. Jeremy moved without thinking. The moment Helen's finger tightened on the trigger, that infinitesimal twitch that meant commitment, he launched himself forward. Not at Helen, at the woman with the shotgun. The shotgun's barrel jerked upward, the muzzle slicing an arc toward the ceiling as she fought to keep her grip.
No!
Her free hand lashing out, fingers curling into claws aimed at his face. Jeremy twisted, taking the rake across his temple instead of his eye. Blood spilled hot down his cheek, but he didn't stop. Diego entered the fray, trying to help disarm the woman, and promptly got winged in the gut by the shotgun's heavy barrel, sending him to the ground, hard.
Fuck you, tourist!
Damn! Puta loca!
Her elbow drove backward, catching Jeremy in the ribs hard enough to punch the air from his lungs. He grunted, held on anyway, fingers scrabbling for purchase on the shotgun's stock. Through the white-hot muzzle flash, he saw pellets rip across the Kubota's side panel, peppering the metal with dime-sized holes. Beth's body jerked sideways in a spray of red mist. Her blue cardigan sleeve instantly shredded and dark. Her shoulder hit the trailer's metal edge with enough force to dent the aluminum, leaving a wet smear against the black surface as she crumpled.
Beth! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Jeremy's ears rang, vision swimming. Still, he held on, using the weapon's recoil to drive the woman backward, slamming her spine against the generator display. The woman's grip on the shotgun loosened for just a fraction of a second. It was enough. Jeremy twisted the shotgun, metal hot under his grip, knuckles white with strain. The stock jerked free in a sudden release that sent him stumbling back half a step. Her lips pulled back, teeth bared in the fluorescent light, eyes narrowed to slits. She lunged forward, her forehead connecting with the ridge of his brow with a sickening crack that sent stars exploding across his vision. The woman's expression flickered. surprise, then something darker. She looked down at her own chest as if she couldn't quite believe what she was seeing. A small red bloom was spreading across her flannel shirt, right below the sternum. Her hand dropped from the shotgun, fingers touching the wound with the detached curiosity of someone examining a stain on their sleeve. Jeremy stumbled backward, gasping, one hand pressed to his ribs where she'd elbowed him. His vision was still swimming white at the edges. For a moment he couldn't process what had happened, couldn't trace the line from the sound of the gunshot to this woman standing in front of him with a hole in her chest. Then Helen stepped forward, the tiny revolver still extended in both trembling hands. Smoke curled from the barrel. Her face had gone completely blank.
I didn't mean...
The woman with the shotgun sat down hard on the polished floor. Not collapsed. Sat. Like she'd suddenly decided her legs weren't worth the effort anymore. Her hand was still pressed to her chest, and when she pulled it away, her fingers came back dark and wet.
Think I'm bad. You don't win in this place. It's designed to break.
Everyone in, now!
The vehicle lurched forward, trailer bouncing violently behind them.
My arm.
Mariana pressed against her in the cramped trailer.
Keep this jacket tight against it. Don't look at it.
Why am I the universe's punching bag?
Jeremy cradled the shotgun across his lap, eyes darting between mirrors.
Stay alert. She might not be alone. Gunshots carry.
Diego hunched over the wheel, face grim.
Mierda, almost out of gas.
The engine's growl deepened as he floored it, drowning out Beth's ragged breathing as they fled into the vast retail wilderness. Diego had thought the rest of AllSports was big, sprawling even, but this central thoroughfare was something else entirely. The floor stretched ahead like a 4-lane highway, white stone polished to a mirror sheen, bordered on both sides by endless retail displays. Overhead, the black void pressed down, broken only by the rhythmic pulse of fluorescent lights suspended on chains. Signs hung at regular intervals, massive and identical. AllSports, your outdoor world, under one roof, each one identical to the last. Same font, same promise.
Bleeding slowed, but she's white as paper. Arm is all torn up.
Diego glanced in the rearview mirror at Beth's ashen face.
Blood still coming. No more wounds clot by now. Either she's got something wrong with her platelets or... We need to find real medical supplies. Bandages won't cut it much longer.
Ella puede oírte.
Mariana hissed, eyes flicking meaningfully toward Beth's face. Beth's eyelids fluttered but didn't open. Diego leaned toward Mariana without taking his eyes off the endless aisle ahead.
Señora, no soy médico ni enfermero. ¿Quiere ayudar? Averigüe nuestros grupos sanguíneos.
Mariana nodded, shifting closer to Beth while projecting her voice away.
Beth, stay with us. What's your blood type? Just information we should share.
Oh, positive.
Type A, negative. Not exactly common.
Helen and I are both B positive.
Type A, B positive. Universal recipient.
Mariana pressed harder on the wound.
No perfect match then. Come on, Beth. Keep talking. You like talking, remember?
I'll kill you, bitch.
Jeremy twisted to look over his shoulder.
What's your type, Mari?
Mariana pressed her lips together in a smile that flickered and died.
A negative. Like you. Not exactly common.
One hand lifted from Beth's wound, hovering over her own stomach for just a heartbeat, before she resumed applying pressure to the blood-soaked bandage. Diego's fingers tightened around the steering wheel as another identical sign passed overhead. AllSports, your outdoor world, under one roof. He tried counting them like highway markers, but after 7, the sameness blurred his concentration. They stretched ahead endlessly, each one a perfect clone of the last.
How big is this place?
Big enough to hide more assholes.
Jeremy had a new backpack, an old new backpack. It looked lived in, a wet spot of blood on one side. Fred peered over from the back seats.
That? Hers?
Yeah, our mystery woman traveled light. 2 empty shells, all she left. She only had 2 damn rounds on her.
The Kubota's engine coughed once, twice. Everyone tensed.
Bingo fuel. No ammo.
Jeremy pulled out another patch with the word Raiders stitched across it. Above that, something else had been deliberately singed away.
You, get the feeling she'd been here a while?
Jeremy nodded solemnly.
We need to find some ammo. Soon.
Maybe we'll find some.
Fred tapped the patch.
In Bartertown.
His weathered face cracked into a grim smile. Diego's eyes caught movement overhead, another sign swinging gently on its chain. Something about the uniformity made him think of assembly lines, of mass production, of things built to a blueprint that didn't account for human scale. In the back seat, Helen was rocking slightly, the little revolver still sitting on the purse in her lap like a dead weight. She hadn't blinked in minutes. Fred had his arm around her, whispering things she probably couldn't hear, his eyes darting frantically across the passing displays. He needed to get her out. He needed to get her away from what she'd just done. His head snapped to the right.
Brake, Diego, brake!
What? Threat?
No. A way up.
Between 2 towering shelves stood an escalator, its outline barely visible except for the dim safety LEDs tracing its edges.
Look up there.
Fred leaned forward, squinting.
Some kind of administrative area.
I see a help desk sign. It's got a little phone symbol next to it.
From the utility cart, Egon shifted beneath his blanket. Restricted access. Helen surveyed the mall, bloody, exhausted, terrified, and set her jaw.
Fred, we need those phones. Now.
Jeremy stepped between them and the escalator.
We nearly got killed 10 minutes ago. We can't just rush up there blind.
You think I don't know that? These people need a hospital, and I need to call someone about what I did.
Fred touched her arm.
A lawyer first, Helly. This state's tricky with self-defense laws.
I hear you both. That area might have security, staff, someone who can actually help us.
Diego stepped forward, rolling his shoulders.
I'll take point. No offense to the military training, but I'm guessing those knees have seen better days.
Jeremy winced as he shifted weight.
Fair assessment. Take Helen's piece with you, though. We don't know what's waiting.
Bad idea.
Diego's eyes narrowed, fingers stabbing toward the top of the escalator.
That's a barrel shoot. Anyone up there sees me coming with a gun drawn, I'm dead before I clear the last step. Then they've got your weapon, and you've got...
Jeremy nodded grimly.
Just don't stop moving. And pray your cardio's better than mine.
Diego hit the escalator steps before Fred could finish adjusting his coat. Fred's hand gripped the rubber handrail as the escalator carried them upward, Helen half a step ahead.
I'm not much good at this, Helen. But you can talk to me if it bothers you. I know it's a lot to take in.
Her eyes stayed fixed on the ascending steps, tracking each metal ridge as it disappeared into the mechanism above.
Nothing to think about. She threatened our Denise. I'd do it again.
Fred's chest constricted. He glanced at her profile, the set of her mouth, the way her shoulders had gone rigid under her cardigan.
Helen, our daughter is gone. You know that, right?
Right. I know.
Diego's hand found the radio clipped to his belt.
Testing. Jeremy, you read?
Loud and clear. What's your 20?
Halfway up. Bixby's are coming up behind me. Slow.
Copy. We've got eyes on you from here. Anything moves, I'm coming up.
Roger that.
As they approached the halfway point on the escalator, Helen suddenly patted her pockets.
My medication, it's still in my purse, in the cart.
Can one of you grab Helen's bag?
I'll get it.
Jeremy jogged back to retrieve Helen's floral purse, surprised by its weight.
Fred, Helen, get down.
Jeremy had almost joined Fred and Helen in the gnashing teeth of the escalator. His fingers had clawed desperately at a display shelf, crashing backwards as the metal maw snapped shut inches from his feet. Now he lay sprawled on the tiles, feeling the cold seeping through his jeans where a river of crimson pooled beneath him. His mouth hung open, lungs frozen mid-breath, as his brain struggled to process what his eyes had just witnessed. Then the afterimage, a spray of red across the gleaming escalator balustrades, droplets arcing outward to spatter the safety glass and the tiles below. Jeremy's mind skidded, trying to process. One moment Fred and Helen had been ahead of him, alive and clutching each other's hands, climbing the stairs toward the help desk. The next, they were gone. Diego stood frozen at the top of the escalator, looking down at the carnage from his isolated vantage point. His outstretched hand hung uselessly in the air between floors, as if he could somehow bridge the distance and pull them back. Below him, Mariana, Beth, and the blanket-swathed Egon formed a tableau of shock around the base, eyes wide, mouths open but voiceless. No one breathed. No one moved. The gulf between Diego and the others seemed to widen with each passing second, marked only by the absence of sound where the stairs' electric hum had been.
What the hell just happened? Jeremy, what was that?
Helen? Mr. Bixby?
We value your time. The escalators are designed to help you reach your ultimate destination in an expedited fashion.
We thought we were free, the enduring lie that we had a chance, never asked why. Days consumed in choice, false hope prescribed. Discounted beneath artificial sky. Desert of plenty, desert from within. Should we go for a moment in a palace of sin? Three choices given, taken away. Never wanted for better, just a life to begin. They say it's not over, we'll be back someday. This engine needs freedom till the road gives way. Desert of plenty, departed from kin. Traded one for a moment, another heart stops within. Convoy of lost souls, ripped from our home, calling back without voice into the darkness alone. We thought we were free, the enduring light. We found our appointment on an altar of bone. Desert of plenty, no escape near, no reason to atone, because we've always been here.